All right, we're here with Phineas from the Ultimate Human Experience, and we're going to talk about some morning stuff because morning, setting your day off right. Mm-hmm. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day. We've all been rammed that down our throat for years. How much is that true? And how most people start off their routine with coffee, caffeine. Mm-hmm. Is that good? Is that bad? What does caffeine do? People say, oh, it's the worst stuff. Some people say, oh, a little bit's good. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into that. Anything you want to just jump into off of that?
Let's get right into it. So morning of air. That's the best.
Morning of air.
Yeah, so that's all we eat.
Air.
Yeah, just air.
Just suck it
There's
in.
no calories. And get outside, get a little bit of fresh air. And get a little bit of exercise pretty much as soon as you can, and get some sunlight on your skin, in your eyes. Looking at the blue sky, especially in Hawaii, where the skies are gorgeous. A few white clouds are going through. This resets your circadian rhythm, which there's all these internal clocks that make you healthy. If you look on the Andrew Huberman podcast, this is the best one for this type of neuroscience. That's where I've learned all my neuroscience. And he talks to the top experts in a lot of different fields. And circadian rhythms is by this guy. His last name is Panda. Cool guy from San Diego, UC San Diego in San Diego. And he's I think the foremost expert on the circadian rhythm. And that's all he spends his whole life doing. So I got that information from him. It was already natural for me to get out there and then just enjoy the beauty. But even if it is a little bit cloudy, even if a little bit rainy, if you look on the Lumen app, I think it's actually called Lux on your phone.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
It's LUX or LUXE, I forget. You can just point it anywhere and you'll be surprised to see inside a room like this, you might be at 15, and in a really dark, cloudy place like Seattle at noon, you're going to be potentially in the thousands.
Yeah.
So just the sun is just super powerful.
Yeah. And I just remember when I was camping, and camping with my buddies back in the day, you don't want to get up, you want to sleep in, but you're outside, you're camping. And I just remember you get up in the morning, take a piss or something, and it's the sun hits you, you see the sky, you take a breath, and you're just awake.
Yep.
Even though I wanted to go back to sleep. I wanted to go back in my cozy, comfy sleeping bag in my tent, but you just can't.
Yeah.
It's instantly wakes you up.
There's such an amazing effect that happens with all the neurochemistry and the biochemistry of the whole entire body when the sunshine, hits your eyes and hits your skin. I don't have the deep science into it, but there's a couple of different hormones and just neurochemicals that just change instantly from that. So that's why you can't go back to sleep. And that's the reason why when you go to sleep, you're going to want to have it really dark in your room. A lot of times those blackout curtains are going to be good. There's even some science that shows that even if you have an AC in your room and it has one of those little green lights up there that just shows that it works, that's somewhat disruptive. And I feel I'm not quite as sensitive, but I could just be an illusion about that. If I had tape over that, or that might help me. But ours are pretty dark. And then my wife wears, the eye cover.
Yeah.
And some people will even do the earplugs, just quiet and dark and cool. Actually, there's a lot of evidence around the body wanting to go into deep sleep if it's a little bit cooler. A lot of times I hear the sweet spot's around 68. It varies, I think, with each person's body. I personally put on 61 and just freeze that room. And even at that temperature, I only have a sheet on, and that's all I need. Even
You're
at 61.
a pit of monster.
Yeah, I really am. I mean, I go in the sun a decent amount, and I exercise a lot. Also, I'm kapha. And I have a decent amount of body fat still, which just keeps me warm. Yeah. So we'll see. If I get super lean, just the veins are everywhere, will I be cooler?
Right. So caffeine.
Yeah.
People, it's don't even talk to me until I got my coffee.
Yeah.
Don't even talk to me.
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple things with that, right? So coffee specifically has some health benefits. So they did some studies, and decaffeinated coffee will still have some antioxidant properties to it. So it's actually healthy. But then there's the caffeine component in the caffeinated coffee, which is naturally occurring, right? So there's a couple things with that. Is obviously in moderation, and frequency is a big thing. Another thing that's interesting that a lot of people won't know is that the receptors that the caffeine basically plugs into that gives you that stimulus are virtually dead in the first hour upon waking up. So you may notice some benefits, but if you want to be really scientific and ideal about just kind of getting the best you can, the most bang for your buck, so to speak. Don't hit any caffeine for like an hour after you wake up, right?
Really?
Yeah.
So
For people that do that,
don't
try
wake
that.
up with your coffee maker as your alarm clock, smelling the coffee, dragging yourself out of bed, grabbing a cup.
Yeah, this is what I suggest.
What's that? What would that do to you?
So this doesn't maximize the effect
This max the effect
That's
of the
of the caffeine. Yeah.
And so
You have to have more, and
you have to have more.
you'll kind of be like,
uh-huh.
I'm not getting really the effect I want to, and this is that you'll want to have another cup later, and now you're going to overdo it, and then you're going to have it later, and then it's going to disrupt your sleep, and then you're going to need it more, and it's a vicious cycle.
Right.
So be smarter about it. You know, it's going to be a little bit painful because you're going to have some stimulus immediately, but just not as much. And so if you can drink some water and have a little bit of vitamins and minerals, some of those little electrolyte, companies like Element actually is a really good one. You can sprinkle like a little bit of that in your water and have a nice like 12, 16 ounces of water pretty quickly after you wake up, and then go outside, take a nice little walk, maybe walk the dog or something like that. Look at that nice blue sky. The sunshine is out. Take some nice deep breaths and just do super healthy things for the first at least like 20 or 30 minutes. Come back in, take care of things, maybe preparing yourself for work, and then now it's an hour. And you can do the caffeine and you'll be good to go. I suggest that's it for the caffeine,
Yeah.
And the way that you can make it so that you don't have the crash later, and also so that you don't really need anything later unless your schedule is just unbelievably intense and you just have to customize it for your particular schedule. But the healthier you are, the more energy you're going to have. This the natural energy you're going to get from your food and your mindset and everything like that. And the caffeine, it has a half-life. I want to say it's like something like maybe 6 or 7 hours. That's one thing we can look up and see what the half-life is. Just say you have 200 milligrams of caffeine. Say it's 6 hours half-life. You're going to have 100 milligrams 6 hours later. Then you have 50 milligrams 12 hours later. So if you drink it too late, you're going to have still a lot in your system, and that's going to really disrupt your sleep. And sleep is one of the biggest factors for health, muscle recovery, getting your brain healthy. The brain really, really needs to detox during the night. And so many systems just need a break, and you don't want the caffeine.
The addictiveness.
Yeah.
People talk about 10 times more addictive than marijuana. I remember hearing that. I'm not sure if that's true, but that stat kind of just jumps out at me. How addictive is it? Do you know much about the addiction and what addiction kind of does to someone? Like not just physically, but that having an addiction, it's a tough one, and you can be of course addicted to your phone. Right now we know people they're going on detoxes, so you can be addicted to pretty much anything. Doesn't have to be necessarily a chemical reaction.
So when we talk about addiction, we talked about the psychological aspect of it and also the physiological aspect. So some things have a psychological component and a physiological component, which is those are some of the toughest ones, like someone that smokes, right? It's like, you're nervous and you want to have something in your hand, and it's a social thing. So it's tapping into certain desires and pleasures that you have from engaging in a certain activity. And that's going to be on the psychological, but then that one also has a very heavy physiological one. So it's one of the toughest ones ever. Some other ones are not so much, say you're addicted to heroin. It's not really a social thing so much. In certain areas, it might be, but in mainstream society, it's like you usually kind of want to stay away from that world, right? So caffeine is just super acceptable. So you are going to have this sense of, I really like that smell in the morning, and I like it when I go meet my business partners at the Starbucks and we do our thing. So there's pleasure, there's neurochemicals that are being released on the anticipation of the pleasure of the thing, of the activity, of the group that you're going to be engaging in. And then you have the physiological, aspect of just the caffeine molecule and what it does to your system. So those are really, really difficult. And you can test it. If you stop the activity and there's some pain and discomfort and withdrawal symptoms and stuff like that, that's going to be physiological. And then also psychologically, you're just constantly thinking about it and it's just irritating and frustrating you. Generally, it's better not to do things that are addictive. But the caveat to that, which is another interesting thing, is that I'm actually addicted to exercise in an interesting way. But I consider it a really healthy one, just like if you were addicted to meditation, if you were addicted to serving others. I mean, this is like, you're getting really good returns on this kind of stuff.
Right.
So I noticed I didn't get to train on Saturday at the gym. My routine is really, really strict. It's every morning. The routine is basically like first thing I just put on my podcast, I get some great content going, and then I get to the gym and get the body moving. And that gets me into just an amazing mood. Like I'm thinking super clear. I'm really creative. I want to make content. I want to share. I want to do stuff like all day. So that's why it's really, really good. And then when I didn't get a chance to do it, I didn't feel that great and the energy wasn't that great. And so even though that's kind of a bummer, because what if you're in a situation where you just couldn't get there? It's like a little bit of a crutch in that sense, but there's always probably situations where you could at least move. You know, you could just do burpees or sit-ups or push-ups or pull-ups or go for a jog. It's just that our body really thrives when it's moving and getting a little bit of circulation and sweating and detoxing a little bit. So I feel like it's like nature kind of just pushing you into this healthy zone, rewarding you for moving your body. And so that's one that I'm super happy with.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting about movement and thinking.
Yeah.
Like I come up with a lot of ideas when I'm walking.
Mm-hmm.
And I took this course on animation. I do animation, and the guy swore by it. All his ideas. He had this like literally a circle in his backyard, and he was walk it. And anytime he was just trying to work out stuff, ideas, creative stuff. He was a storyteller for Disney, and he's just something about movement and ideas. Is it because the blood's flowing? There's more stuff going through the brain. Your brain can get more what it needs to just,
Yeah.
Is that part of it? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, the blood's flowing, so you're getting some more oxygen. There's so many things that are happening to the body when it moves, like we talked about before, just to get up out of a chair. There's so many muscles that are contracting and so many cells and molecules and even smaller on the atomic level that are just have these electrical interactions. I mean, we're an electrical system if you really break it down to like the core of it. And so it just creates a more creative environment. It's just more stimulus to be able to just have things coming in. It's a healthier state. And also what's even more powerful that I noticed is that the quality of the air, because you're getting in the air, so fresh air. Like I walk along the beach every day, do some of my meditation down there and do some of my brainstorming and also listening to the podcast to really integrate. It's just a really great system to be able to create a great environment for learning. And then even just like looking around in nature too, there's just something really amazing about being able to see all these different distances. It might be a palm tree that's like a quarter of a mile away, and then there's a mountain 3 miles away, and then there's ocean you can see, 40 miles out or whatever. I don't know the science behind all of it, but it just seems to be that the way that the body's built is to be in these types of environments, and it makes it so we just thrive more. So if you're just always sitting in a room with stale air, you're addicted to video games and other low energy activities, and you're not getting good air, you're not getting much stimulus by looking around. It's the screens, and it's so many things that are stacking on you that's making you have less motivation and have a lower quality of life and thinking more depressing, anxiety-filled thoughts. No wonder people that are stuck in there are more likely to be stuck in there. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We're at the infant stage of screens in our hand. I mean, Apple's, right, the smartphone came out, whatever, 2008, I want to say?
Yeah, maybe there. Yep.
So not even 20 years of people holding these things in their hands, We're probably now just going to have the first generation of people where they're 20 years old and they've had it in their hand since they're like 1 or 2, and what is going to be coming back from that? Because there is something about a screen, I mean, there's probably some physiological thing going on, but also putting it down, going outside, and doing something else, talking to someone face to face.
Yeah.
It's like, it kind of snaps you out of it, right?
Yeah.
You get kind of hypnotized. And it puts you in this kind of state, it's almost like a depression, this kind of state. And it reminds me of, like, we've talked about sugar, how sugar also, it has this kind of way of slowing down your brain activity, right? And so, that, I guess it's like frequencies and vibrations, right? We're going to kind of talk about how just certain things are going to affect you in so many different ways that we don't even think of. We're just not even aware of.
You know, there's a lot that still needs to be learned on the ramifications and implications of a lot of these things. To me, it seems like pretty much common sense in a lot of ways, but it is nice to have the hard science and the data and all the experiments to say, you know, this is the brainwave activity that's being, you know, disrupted, or these are the neurochemicals that are being released when you do this, which is not great, and all these things. Just more evidence, especially for the skeptics or the people that they're not so intuitive about life. And like, they might go outside and they might look at the blue sky and see the beautiful birds flying and the amazing geometry of the trees and smell a plumeria flower. And it's kind of like, it's not really that exciting to them. But the reason why it's not that exciting is because they've actually been kind of dumbed down, or they've been made to be a little bit dull in their perception of these natural things that actually should be appreciated and be grateful for, right? So they've gotten to the point where they just kind of take things for granted because they're being hyper stimulated by these devices and these environments that nature can't compete with in that particular way. But in the end, just like we talked about before, with our discipline and our sacrifice of the moment, is that these other activities and environments that have been around for forever are actually our go-tos for truly, you know, healthy environment. So what I encourage people is that if you really want to have a really productive life, because sometimes people are like on their phones and they're watching the screens and they're doing this stuff and they want to earn a lot of money and they want to have a great marriage and they want to, you know, perform and think and all this kind of stuff. That has its place. These are tools that you can use, but don't neglect all the other tools that have nothing to do with technology. So you're going to get your super high quality, clean foods full of vitality, preferably more on the organic side and the wild side and the raw food side, just to get some actual, you know, vibrance and life inside you, and get outside and get some. I mean, I'm super intentional about, I'm like driving along, and sometimes I have to drive a few hours for work. And I'll just pull over on the side of the road because I have 15 minutes till the next meeting. And I'll just walk. Because we have beaches and oceans all around us. I'll just walk up and down and I'll breathe the fresh air and I'll look really intentionally out far into the ocean. Just look around and just have this kind of appreciated attitude and think about life. And it's just another one of my habits that's just helping me perform better than a lot of people that aren't even thinking about this.
Yeah, because if you're looking at a screen, I mean, you're not thinking. You're seeing the images. It's bouncing off your eyes and your brain. You're hearing the sounds, so you get this double stimulus. Then there's some sort of emotional response. That's why you're looking at it, because it's making you laugh. It's making you angry. It's making you sad, right? All these content creators were experts at creating stuff that's gonna grab your attention and keep it. And then next one. And next one.
Yeah.
You're not thinking. You're not really using that muscle of thinking, and you're using like your body. It's like using your brain, but it can be exhausting. We've all done it, I'm sure, but I've an hour I'm on TikTok, just like awesome thing. Wow, that's awesome. Wow. After an hour, I'm just like, it's just like,
yeah.
Oh. Whoa.
Right.
It's like, what? Where was I for like an hour?
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah. You know, another crazy, tricky thing about it too is that I actually haven't done this yet, just so you know, because I just didn't plug into TikTok and Instagram until recently, only for my business. And so I finally, because of my business, started looking on it. And then I caught myself after maybe 3 or 4 minutes that it was actually feeding some really fun, interesting thing. There's this one called Respect. And you may have seen this before. And it's really the only one I like that I could kind of doom scroll on just a little bit. But I really catch myself because I don't want to be part of that world at all. But this one's fun because it's really athletic. So these are some of the like wildest athletes. So a person will like do the splits while standing with one foot on a unicycle and then be able to go across like a tightrope. Like, it's impossible, dude. It looks so incredibly cool, you know? And they'll just send me these. So that's like kind of fun. But still, it could be really unhealthy if you did that for too long. It doesn't matter how cool it is. It's not really education to me, you know? And so one of the issues, though, is that because these companies have gotten so good with their algorithms as far as feeding you what you like, if your taste is low quality, it's not educational, it's not helping you go towards your goals at all, then that's the feedback loop you'll be in. So you'll just be this kind of going nowhere person that's addicted to this thing that's just, hijacked your brain and your mind, and now it's locked you in to no growth mode.
Yeah.
So for the person at least that's in a growth mindset that wants to become a better version of themselves, they want to have a better physical situation and better nutrition and all these kind of things we talked about, my phone feeds me the latest neuroscience and the latest nutrition. So even though it would still be not super beneficial for me to just keep going on that too long, because usually what I do is just podcasts and I just put it on the side of the car and I'm just listening and I'm driving and I'm seriously considering it. Right. So I'm not getting stuck in this weird thing. But at least all the stuff that does feed me, even the little shorts, it's all this educational stuff.
Right.
So that's a tough situation too.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's almost like you described like the device is like your mind. It's like, it's like the mind feed. It's like whatever you're putting in,
right.
It's coming back.
Yep.
It's not like it's just in there and there's no repercussions. It's all coming back. It's in there. It's our consciousness.
Yeah.
We're embedding it in there, and we develop a taste for it.
Yeah.
And if it's not a taste, and if it's not something beneficial, sure, it's great to be informed. If that information is going to inspire you to go help people and maybe, do something, but is it? We have to be aware of that. Otherwise, it's dragging us down.
And imagine this is the saddest part for me. And then one of the reasons why I've decided to just kind of take a little bit of the scary leap into just trying to make valuable content, because a lot of people will start doing videos like, oh, I look kind of weird and I can't articulate things properly and I'm not that educated and no one cares about what I say. Maybe in the beginning that's true. A lot of people, they don't have a lot of skills and they don't know a lot, but you got to start somewhere with everything. I mean, we all started as a baby knowing basically nothing. So, I mean, everyone, the Nobel Prize winner, the Olympic gold medalist, the billionaire, all started a baby too. They had to stack a bunch of, experiences to get where they are. So what makes you really any different? That's another mindset problem. But imagine this is what's really hard. And I'm just thinking there's no quick fix to this. There's no just ultimate magic wand to this, but content will be one of the solutions. So imagine someone's eating a really poor diet. And so what they do is they see ads on their phone for McDonald's. Oh my God, I would love to go there because that's what they're used to and that's what they're addicted to and that's what their taste is. And so they go there and then they're in the car and their friends are going there. And so they're just feeding that negative feedback loop of just toxic, low quality food, making the brain just all cloudy. So they're going to be more likely to be addicted. And now they have super low quality content that they're going through. It's making them dumber and dumber and dumber. Yeah. And some of these people, it's just endless of how low they can get. I mean, then they get to the point where they get into this so-called black pill communities, these incel. I'm not sure if you've seen these young men where, there's no hope. There's no way they could ever get a girlfriend. They could never make any money. They can't leave the basement of their mom's house. It's just pornography and video games and weed all day long. And they have just enough money. Either the parents are enabling or somehow or other, they're able to sustain this really low quality lifestyle. And the problem is that almost every single input that's coming from every single angle is reinforcing this jail that's just clamping down on them that will literally take their life if they're not careful. And many of these are suicidal. And so I'm like, God, I gotta say something. I gotta do something. So at least there's some knowledge out there that just little kind of like chipping away at that jail will eventually free your mind from the hell you're in, because that is a hellish place.
And kids, I mean, their brain is developing. It's growing into something. As adults, we're coming to social media and stuff late.
Right.
We've had that brain. It's kind of already in its state, and now we're kind of, manipulating this state, with the phones or whatever. It's changing a little bit, opposed to a kid whose brain is developing into something. Yeah. And that's part of the development, how much harder that's going to be. It's part of your DNA almost, it's like,
really it is.
Yeah,
it really is. That's why I check out what I saw today. Actually, I was so shocked, and I shouldn't be, because I've seen this kind of stuff before, but so there's a really muscular, super fit, really positive fireman at the gym that I see. And I'm like, man, he's 45 years old and it's just like it's just a physical specimen, and he's enjoying his life, and he has a good attitude, and just everything's pointing in the right direction. He brings in a wagon, like a beach wagon that you just throw like your toys, with his son in there with a canopy. So his son's all sheltered and doesn't have to worry about all the people working out. And I didn't even know this was allowed. He's dragging this thing around the gym. And this is a very responsible, high energy, cool guy. It's not like some weird person that's like, what happened? The kid's on a tablet. He's like 2.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's going to be totally bothered by the whole situation, and he's just eating a bunch of garbage.
Right.
So we're starting off at such a young age with just inputs that are destroying. And this is from a relatively high quality individual. And of course I know what he's thinking. He's like, mom couldn't watch, or I couldn't find the babysitter.
Right.
I have to go to the gym.
We get it. We're parents.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's the easy fix, and you don't know what this person's going through in their life, but we're hoping that that can inspire some people just to take a little bit more steps away from. At least that awareness is so important, right? It's just awareness, getting aware of the hazardous, and just like we said, try on your feed. Don't try to do something completely different on your feed, because you can direct your feed the same way you can direct your mind. So do a little experiment. Try to put in only look at fresh vegetables for a day or something and see how that feels. We could do some experiments with that. Why can't we experiment the other way?
Yeah.
But this is awesome. So check out the Ultimate Human Experience. Phineas has amazing content, really inspiring. So this is, if you're gonna change your feed to what Phineas has to put, because it's really is inspiring stuff, and you're constantly adding and learning new stuff. So it's highly recommend people jump on that.
Yeah, I'll leave you with that. My mission is to really have the highest quality content on the earth. I'm just going to try to see if I can just sift through and distill everything. And what I'll do is I'll just grab from the best, and I'll reiterate it, because there hasn't been that many new thoughts. We take from the ancient Vedic texts, from the, from ancient days, the old days, and then some of the modern people with all of their, experiments and kind of checking out the Vedas and some of the ancient books and compare them to what we can do here. And it's like a hybrid sometimes, which is really, really valuable. So I'm just always trying to find what's the best, and then just really sitting in meditation and really contemplating in a deep philosophical way what is the ultimate help and welfare and experience for all human beings, and just putting it out there.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Very much.
Have
awesome.
a good one.
Thank you.